Your alarm just went off, and every cell in your body is screaming that it's too early. Not, I don't feel like it. Not 5 more minutes of laziness. A deep, biological scream. You are not lazy. You are living on a planet whose rotation is literally too fast for your internal clock. Stay with me. This isn't motivational advice. This isn't a productivity hack. This is a story about a 200,000-year-old evolutionary glitch and the modern world that turned that glitch into a quiet epidemic. Let's start with a simple fact. For decades, scientists assumed the human body ran on a precise 24-hour cycle. Wake, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Makes sense, right? The sun rises and sets every 24 hours. We should match it perfectly, except we don't. In the 1930s, a German researcher named Jürgen Aschoff began locking volunteers in underground bunkers. No sunlight, no clocks, no radio. Just a light switch they controlled themselves. And here's what happened. People didn't live on a 24-hour day. They lived on a 24.2-hour day, sometimes 24.5. In some studies, closer to 25. Your internal circadian rhythm, the master clock in your brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, is not a perfect 24-hour machine. It's longer, by about 12 to 30 minutes. That's the glitch. Every single day, your body wants to go to bed a little later and wake a little later. In nature, this isn't a problem. Morning sunlight resets your clock like a gentle finger pushing a drifting boat back toward shore. The sun's blue light signals, time to wake up, and your internal day snaps back into alignment. But here's the catch. That reset mechanism only works if you get bright, early light, and if you dim your environment at night, which almost none of us do. Let's name what this creates. Social jet lag. You've felt it. It's the exhaustion of living on 2 different clocks, your biological clock and your social clock. Your body says, it's 1 a.m., I'm just getting started. Your alarm says 7 a.m., go earn a living. On Friday night, you finally let your internal rhythm win. You stay up late. You sleep in Saturday. You feel human again. Then Sunday night, you try to force yourself to bed early, and you lie there, wide awake, because your internal clock hasn't shifted. Monday morning arrives like a punch. That's not a moral failure. That's a mathematical conflict between a 24.2-hour biology and a rigid 24-hour society. And it's not minor. Research from Roenneberg at the University of Munich found that more than 80% of people in industrial societies have a misalignment between their natural clock and their work/school schedule. The average social jet lag is about 2 hours per day. That means your body is living in a different time zone than your job every single day. Think about that. If you flew from New York to Denver every morning and back every night, you'd call that torture. But we call it having a job. The result? Chronic sleep deprivation isn't a choice. It's a forced design flaw. Here's where your insight gets really sharp. Because it wasn't always like this. In the 1960s, anthropologist Marshall Sahlins studied hunter-gatherer societies. Groups like the Kung of the Kalahari. He gave them a surprising name, the original affluent society. Affluent doesn't mean rich in stuff. It means rich in time. They worked about 15 to 20 hours a week. The rest, conversation, play, and, crucially, sleep. But not the kind of sleep we know. They didn't have a single, unbroken 8-hour block. They had flexible sleep, short naps, a first sleep after dusk, then waking for an hour or two, storytelling, stargazing, intimacy, then a second sleep before dawn. This is called biphasic sleep. It's natural, it's comfortable, and it only works when you aren't fighting your own clock. They also didn't have this problem, a 24.2-hour rhythm trapped inside a 24-hour job. When the sun went down, firelight was dim and orange, no blue light suppression of melatonin. When the sun rose, they woke, not because an alarm screamed, but because their eyes told them to. And on days when they felt a little off, when their internal clock drifted, they adjusted. They slept in. They napped by the afternoon heat. That's not laziness. That's biological intelligence. We traded that intelligence for something shinier. Industrial efficiency. Factories needed bodies at 8 a.m. sharp. Schools needed children at 7:30 a.m. sharp. The 24-hour day became a god. And we all bowed to it, regardless of what our 24.2-hour brains wanted. Let me give you a number. 1 in 3 adults in developed countries doesn't get enough sleep. That's the CDC. The World Health Organization has called sleep loss an epidemic. Another number, before the Industrial Revolution, insomnia was rare, really rare. In pre-electric light societies, people fell asleep within 15 minutes of lying down. They didn't have can't turn off my brain syndrome, because their brains were following the sky, not an LED screen. Now, we have a multi-billion-dollar sleep industry selling you weighted blankets, blue blocker glasses, melatonin gummies, white noise machines, and $2,000 mattresses, and none of them fix the core problem. Your day is simply too short for your internal clock. Melatonin helps a little. Dark mode helps a little. But as long as you have to wake up at 6:45 a.m. for a meeting your body thinks should happen at 9 a.m., your time, you will be tired. That's not a you problem. That's a rotation problem. Imagine for a moment that we lived on a planet that rotated once every 25 hours. Here's what would happen. Your internal clock would match your environment perfectly. No drift, no social jet lag. You'd wake feeling ready. You'd fall asleep at a natural hour. Your sleep quality would improve. Studies show even 30 minutes of alignment reduces stress hormones by 15%. You'd also probably sleep less overall, but more efficiently, because a well-aligned clock spends less time tossing and turning and more time in deep, slow-wave sleep and REM. Of course, we can't change the planet's rotation, but we can stop pretending the mismatch is our fault. Instead, we shame people. Night owls are lazy. Teenagers are just rebellious. You'd sleep fine if you had discipline, but night owls exist for a reason. Your chronotype, whether you're a lark, an owl, or somewhere in between, is largely genetic. About 50% of your sleep timing is inherited. If you prefer midnight to 8 a.m., that's not a bad habit. That's your DNA responding to a 24.2-hour clock that has been stretched further by artificial light. And teenagers? Their internal clock shifts later naturally, up to 2 hours. During puberty, asking a 15-year-old to fall asleep at 10 p.m. is like asking you to fall asleep at 8 p.m. Biologically impossible for most, but we force them anyway. School starts at 8 a.m. They show up half asleep. We call them unmotivated. Then we wonder why mental health crises are rising. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The 25-hour day isn't a fantasy. It's the day your body already wants to live. The only reason it's not your reality is that we've built a world that values schedule over biology, and we could change that. Delayed school, start times work. Studies show a single-hour shift improves test scores, reduces depression, and cuts car crashes among teens. Flexible work hours exist. Companies that allow employees to start between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. see lower burnout and higher output, not because people work more, because they work when their brains are actually online. We could also relearn biphasic sleep. Siestas aren't lazy. They're ancestral. A 20-minute afternoon nap reduces cardiovascular disease by 37%, more than most medications. But none of this will happen if we keep believing the lie that exhaustion is a virtue, that sleeping less is strength, that your alarm clock is your master. So let me end where we began. Your alarm just went off, and every cell in your body is screaming that it's too early. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not undisciplined. You are a 200,000-year-old biological system built for a 25-hour day, trying to survive in a 24-hour world. The glitch isn't inside you. The glitch is the clock on the wall. Now go back to sleep, or don't, but at least stop apologizing for it.